Hangout #1 for 2015, and we were talking about authentic resources, how to find them, and then what to do with them. So, I am Laura Sexton. I do PBL in the TL.com, and I set a bunch of this stuff up because I just really want to talk to other teachers. So, what other teachers do we have here?
You call us out.
Okay. First, I see Stephanie. Stephanie, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Stephanie. I teach French at the middle school and middle school level in York, Maine.
I am Laura Sexton. I do PBL in the TL.com. And hear me? I set a bunch of this stuff up. If you have headphones are an excellent idea for this sort of thing, so we don't get the feedback. And also, if you are behind, you can start from the beginning or what have you. So, all right, so Stephanie, we have a French teacher in our midst, and then I have Senora, which I believe is Ash.
Yes.
I caught her digging in her bag.
I am Ashley Landis. I teach at a huge school, and my classes are of 30 kids, and I teach Spanish 1 and Latin American history.
Very cool. And now I see Nancy.
Yes, I'm here.
I hear Nancy, but I don't see her.
Okay. Yeah, I think you see me now? Yeah.
Yes. There you are.
Okay. Spanish teacher at high school 2 years ago. Love you guys. Learn a lot from you. And 3 honors class last year and Spanish 1.
Very cool.
South Carolina.
Oh.
I'm here in South Carolina.
Carolina never, yay. Right, and now I see Ken, and I think Ken is from long way away.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for making the time, and great to see you all in person instead of on the Twitter chat, which is great. I'm from Sydney, Australia, and I've been teaching Chinese language for 25 years, and I started working for the Association of Independent Schools June last year, where we provide professional learning for teachers. And it's really good getting on this Twitter. It's one of the best things I've ever done for my own PL. Thanks a lot.
I love it too. It's going to be very interesting getting your perspective because I think authentic resources really work differently for non-logographic languages. So I'll be interested to hear your perspective there. All right, and then I see Miss Kathy.
Yes, I'm Kathy Griffith. I'm from Rocky Mount, Virginia, but I'm currently in Raleigh, North Carolina because I had a grandson that had to go to the hospital today. But I have been teaching about 30 years and got on Twitter a couple years ago and just basically jumped away from my old way of teaching and went and sort of feel a little bit lost, but love what I'm seeing in my students. So I feel like I'm sort of a stalker, but I'll add whatever I can.
Yes, excellent. We love lurkers too. And people think that all they can do is lurk, but then they have brilliant ideas. They just have to let us hear them. So, and finally we have an Allison.
Sorry. All right, I'm Allison. I'm in Warsaw, Indiana, and I was a Spanish 1 teacher and Spanish for heritage speakers for a year as well. And at the end of this past school year, I just decided to stay home with my little girl, but I'm really trying to continue to learn from you guys and keep in contact with a bunch of new teachers in my corporation, helping them get trained and things like that. So
that'll be cool. So we have a wide range going on here. So we got French and Spanish and Chinese, and we have everything from 1 to heritage speakers, yes? We got some advanced things. So the first question that we had is how to find authentic resources, and I suspect that the techniques are going to be pretty similar for finding them. I think the using them might differ a lot depending on your level and your language. What do you guys think?
Yes, exactly the same thing. Yeah, the same places, Pinterest, a lot of internet websites. You guys have other teacher resources, and then moving from there and just adding. Just Googling, I think, is the first thing we start doing, and then finding excellent people like you.
Mm-hmm.
Blogs. I blatantly steal from blogs.
Blatantly.
Are we talking like Amy Leonard blogs, or are we talking like blogs in the target language?
Right now, it's people like you, and I'm just trying to make it more like my teaching style. But yes, I try to find things. I feel like I need baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
I use Google in Spanish, so I actually do like the google.es, and I also look on Tumblr for hashtags in Spanish.
Oh, that's good.
And that Tumblr really helps a lot, and the kids really like connecting to it, so I actually think next year I'm going to start my own professional Tumblr. But there's just so many resources on Tumblr, and it links, there's articles, there's videos, you can just type in like funny as a hashtag in your language, and you'll find so many things that go with that, or just your theme.
I like that. So the hashtags on Tumblr. Now, I know that Tumblr is blocked at my school. Is it blocked at yours?
It is, but a lot of my kids do have data. So, and the other thing is with Tumblr is that links to other websites. So if you use those other websites, then you're fine. I just wouldn't go through maybe the Tumblr interface at school.
So you kind of use it as a resource, like
yeah, like a
the Wikipedia articles. Yeah. Springboard. Yes. Okay.
Can you explain what Tumblr actually does? I've heard a lot about it and people using it, but I haven't got into it myself. There's so much other things out there.
Tumblr is pretty much like an online blog, but it kind of mixes blogging with Twitter, in my opinion. Usually you find media and then you tumble it, like you read Tumblr, I guess. I don't know if anyone else has a better description. I've had one personally for quite some time, and I know sort of my more emotional students really enjoy Tumblr. It's like an outlet for them as a diary almost.
One of my students says, I don't even use Spanish anymore except on Tumblr. And it's like, aha, but you use it on Tumblr.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like a blogging, but also a sharing platform, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so it'd be really good for finding like accessible, like level appropriate resources, like that you could find in small chunks, but not quite as small as Twitter, maybe.
Right.
Okay. Is it a private blog? You're saying it's an online blog. Is it something someone set up, or is it Tumblr's like the homepage for it, and everyone just contributes to it?
Tumblr's the platform, like Blogger.
Oh, it's a platform. Yeah. Oh, okay.
But it's very popular with teenagers, so I could see where that would have like a really good starting point for their interests. So like, what teenagers are interested in here is what teenagers are interested in everywhere. So, and then they could see how they really write and talk, and I think that's an excellent idea. I like that. Shane posting her Q&A question. Have you found Vines, Instagram accounts, etc., that are very helpful? I wanted to do Vine, and I haven't gotten into it. Justin at Spanish Plans has been posting some cool ideas about using Instagram. How about you guys? Do you find any good authentic resources on any of those kind of social media outlets?
I use them, like, I'm a huge fan of searching for things. Like, that's why I'm doing Bing Rewards and all that now. But if you go on Vine and you look for what specifically, like, I remember I did hashtag casa because we were learning about the house. And I actually found somebody, like, talking about their house, another person showing me their room, and I used those Vines as kind of like a preview into the unit that we were talking about, or just, like, say the phrase of the week was, like, what's going on. I would try to find that in different countries and then try to figure out what it meant based upon the Vine.
I love that. And to get them in the hearing, because my kids need a lot more hearing authentic resources, because like they listen to me and then I give them like an authentic resource on the IPA and they're like, I have no idea what they're saying. But Vines would be like totally digestible, and you know they love Vines. They would stay on Vine all day if they could.
And they can pause it and listen to it as many times as they want. And that's what I like about it.
And I'm seeing
talking about. I'm sorry. Even when you were talking about like on Instagram, I think instead of maybe listening to authentic resources, like I've noticed that my kids they really have to focus when they're reading some of like the slang that sometimes is on social media or the way that it's worded, something like that. So I feel like sometimes Instagram, and then like mix and match with different pictures and captions, and they have to like put together what they think what caption would go with what picture, and kind of use like process of elimination or like some vocab words that they know, but it is kind of above their level a lot of times on social media. So I think that has been engaging for them at least.
Totally agree. Like the discovery-based, the inquiry-based learning, finding something that will engage them and have them like actually, want to know what it means and like use what they do know and then make guesses. I think that's one of the most valuable things that we can have them do with authentic resources. So I really like that. And on the Instagram subject, have you guys heard of Instagram ELE? I think it is. Or I think it was PR Monday that started it. It's like a hashtag, and each month they have an Instagram challenge, and they post all the keywords, and each day is a different keyword, and you post a picture with a keyword and an Instagram ELE, and you caption it in Spanish. And so
sorry.
Yeah, so that's basically what you do.
Oh.
Is it the tag or is it the who do we follow? I'm on Instagram right now as we say.
There's a hashtag and an account. So like the account posts the challenge, and you could search for the hashtag. And so like people post pictures, and then they just have like comment discussions. So it's not necessarily authentic in the classic sense, because like it's more of an interpersonal outlet, I guess. But then like Justin on Spanish Plains has a lot more of the authentic ones, and he had a post recently. If my computer would let me, actually hang out and look up stuff at the same time, I'd post it for you. But we'll put that on the community later.
Mm-hmm.
I was just interested when Alison was introducing herself before that she was mentioning the heritage course for Spanish, right? In Sydney, where I live, the state of New South Wales, we've got a heritage course for a few of our languages like Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and Indonesian. Now, when you're talking about authentic resources, it's great to use it with the heritage kids, I think. How do you guys sort of transfer that level of language down to your what we would call continuous students, or they just learn it here at school? Whereas the heritage kids, they've learned it at home and they're brought up with it, or they've come from China or one of those other Asian countries when they were very young, or maybe even just a few years ago. So do you need to rework the heritage authentic resource to sort of fit into your language one students, perhaps? Is that what you would be doing?
Yeah. I think that was really challenging for me when I was doing it, because heritage was pretty new to me and still is. But I think what I found, and this might be too vague, but like I would use a very similar or the exact same authentic resource, but I would adapt like what I was actually asking them to do from it. I might not make them do that much in Spanish one. I might just make them make observations or ask questions. But in heritage, I was asking them to like or explain something the same that I would find, or a lot of the same articles even. But for a Spanish 1 class, I was only having them read snippets, and the heritage class, I was having them read the whole thing.
Oh, okay. So you're differentiating with the same authentic resource, but the task or the activity
and I don't know if
different.
that's the best way to do it or not.
That's a
but
good
that
idea.
was
Yeah, we do that too. I was just wondering if you sort of take a reading text or whatever it is and sort of re-edit the text itself. But if you're using the resource like a magazine cover or something,
right.
So it's the same authentic text, but you'd give them different activities, differentiating. Yep.
That's what I've done. I would be interested to hear what other programs are doing, because for me it was just hard to start from scratch for every class. So I would use the same thing and just kind of ask them different levels of questions.
Kevin brings up a good idea talking about the magazine cover. So like your ones might be working on the magazine cover, whereas your heritage speakers might be reading an actual article. Or like the ones might be looking at ads, whereas the heritage speakers are looking at articles. And like you said, they could do a whole lot more things. I find I use the Apple rubrics for mine to differentiate. So, like, which level are you aiming for? All right, interpret at that level. Like, if you're just trying to show me that you can do some phrases and sentences, then that's all you have to do. But I have to make sure I pick resources that have phrases and sentences for that. But if they're intermediate, I have to pick something that's more complex. So I do have to choose different resources sometimes that show more. Because, like, the infographics can't show intermediate level because they don't have enough text for them to interpret to show their fluency with it. So it is possible to differentiate with that. And if you're not using it just as an interpretive task, if you're using it to stimulate interpersonal discourse or presentational, then the sky's the limit.
Yeah, that's good. So it's like a tiered task in a way, or giving them a choice board or something like that with the same resource, or adjusting it anyway. Yeah.
See, we have another question. Let's see. Melanie said that she uses Pinterest, which has been unblocked, in Google France. So before we move all the way into how do you use the resources, on the searches, like finding stuff, have you found any techniques in particular that are good for locating useful and relevant and accessible resources for your students, either on Pinterest or when you're Googling? Like, what's your Google Foo tricks for the keywords and whatnot?
Oh my goodness.
I'm always the first person to answer, so I feel really bad. I'm like,
good.
oh, here we go.
No, don't feel bad. You're good.
I took a internet research skills class in college, and I almost did like internet research skills as like a minor. It was offered at our college. But one of the really and most useful things that I've ever learned is, and I'll type it in the chat right now, is just the file type and then the :PDF, or the file type : PowerPoint. That really limits like what I'm looking for, and you can also limit it to a site by doing that. And you can, if you honestly just Google like how to Google well, there's tons of things to help you limit your search. And I felt like those, honestly, like the file type PDF and file type PowerPoint changed my life. Like when I first started teaching, I'm like, oh, oral assessment Spanish, file type PDF, and like all of these people will come up like from blogs. That's actually how I found Sexton's blog, was through one of those. So I was like, this is hilarious. Like, and then you can save all those and download all of them. So they're really helpful if you know what type of file you're looking for. You can also search for audio files, which is really helpful with speaking, with listening.
Well, how do you search for those? How would you search for an audio file?
You can do file type MP3.
I see.
Yeah. It's whatever format you think it's going to be in.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, no, like every time at like any teaching thing I go to, I'm like, oh, you want to research for things? Please use these. Like, they're so helpful. And I just wish that was like in any orientation package for teachers.
Yeah.
See, Melanie says very specific keywords. Like I have my students find their own resources a lot of time for Genius Hour, and there are two things that I have them put their searches every time, because I only have 1 and 2 for the most part. Either infografía, like infograph, in the target language though, or niños, like kids in the target language.
Yeah.
I mean, my kid who was doing his Genius Hour on physics, I know he actually did find some, I think, for niños. But that's a way to ensure that they have something that's at their level, and then I think it's a valuable skill for them too to know how to search, and pick out the keywords that yield what they want, and just kind of play with that too. But for me, if I'm like trying to find something on a deadline for doing their IPA or something, my advice would be basically start a week or 2 in advance so that you have enough time to find it. But like Melanie says, the very specific keywords, and you got to be searching in the target language, and maybe even searching in like Google.es. I like that idea. Then Shane asks, do you feel that local newspapers in the target language, like the circular kind of things that you can find at the Mexican restaurant, right? Like she says, do you think those are useful? Are they a good resource? How would you use them and which levels? And me, I don't know. I've never Like they like doing the puzzles and stuff. I've never gotten them to do anything awesome with them. Has anyone else have any cool ideas for that?
Mm-mm.
Well, not so much for Googling too much, but because our Year 12 or the final year of high school, is, all the students are aiming for a tertiary entrance mark, so they're all particularly, I don't know, funneling into a particular way of studying. And if they're in, say, for example, the heritage or the continuous course, then apart from learning the exam skills, they've got to know specific topics, which you guys probably do. Do you guys, your final year of high school, is it a state examination, or is it to get into university, or is it a national examination to get into university, or do universities have their own entrance exams and stuff?
As for languages, the universities tend to do their own.
Yeah.
Their own. They might do a test. They might do credits that you've gotten.
Okay.
Credit, clip, whatnot. But
yeah.
But like
So
we
for
don't.
here, yeah. Every student. Sorry to cut you off. It's lagging a bit, the sound, I think.
It is.
Yeah. What happens in our state of New South Wales? It doesn't sound like a lot of numbers probably for the US, but there's 60,000 students examining to go into university, say, for the next year, and out of that there might be about 5,000 or 6,000 who have elected to do a language for their HSC, which is the high school certificate, and for those, they've all got a particular syllabus to study, and everyone does the same exam for your language. So say, for example, in Chinese, there'd be 1,000 students doing maybe the background speakers course, then a couple of hundred doing the heritage, and a couple of hundred doing continuous, and then there's a smaller cohort doing the beginners course. Each of those courses have got marking guidelines and topic areas that the students need to cover. So to get authentic resources for those 4 different levels of Year 12 students, what we do a lot, and this is what I was going to mention before, that's why I asked you, is there a standardised test for each state there? We actually just use a lot of our past papers, or there's another state which is south of us, actually we call them the Mexicans, the state of Victoria. It's they do a lot of similar things to what we do, so we borrow a lot of their resources as well. For background students and heritage students, there's a lot more variety and resources out there for them on the net, but for the continuers and beginner students, it's basically, teachers write a lot of their own material, or their language groups, like the Chinese Teacher Association, or whoever it might be, they'll have writing teams and doing it themselves. So it's a lot more, there's not much, or there's a lot less, there's a lot less resources for those 2 groups compared to the heritage and background. So if you're looking for authentic resources, you Google in second language resources for Year 11 or 12 students, it doesn't come up with very much at all. So it's pretty restrictive that way. So how do you guys go about, I know Spanish is huge over there, so you've probably got a lot more resources to call on than what we have over here.
Well, when you were talking about like the newspapers next to the Mexican store, whatever you were saying before, the Mexican restaurants, that is one way that I started using authentic resources for my heritage speakers first. But I do think, whoever asked the question, I think it was really hit or miss. I think it just depends on the issue, the article, whatever you're looking for. So I always picked up a class set. They actually gave them to me for free. Like if I said I need 30 of them, they would have them for me at a certain delivery time, and I could go get them for free. And we would just glance through them as a class first, and kind of make some observations, ask some questions, something like that. And then if anything particular really struck someone's interest or applied to what we were talking about in class, like right before I think the school year ended, they had a huge thing on prom and different things that people were doing, so that was interesting. Then I could use it, but a lot of times it was kind of an optional activity that I gave the kids to do, like when they had finished something else. It wasn't wasn't super helpful for like a group-wide task. It was kind of like my higher learners in each class.
And in our Q&A section, Melanie has a suggestion that she has her Tuesday weekly actualités. I don't know if we're doing French or Spanish there. Current events on specific topics of their choice, and find an article and summarize to present to the class. And I remember my own French teacher, because I studied French and a lot of good it did me, but like my own French teacher, like if we wanted extra credit, we had to find news related to France or to a French-speaking country. So like I could see it being really good for extra credit type things or for a weekly current events kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't know about doing it with a full class. I don't know how that would work. Yeah, and so all right, we're over halfway through. Would you guys like to move on to the how you use it more than the how to find it? There's some suggestions in the chat here. Some other things mentioned, having in post has a lot of languages for target language audience. BuzzFeed Tamarindo, I have not seen, but that sounds titillating. Audiolingua is a great site to search for authentic audio. And earlier, Nancy mentioned the UTexas, the LAIT thing, and I use those for like homework options. I don't know. Have you guys found anything for like for those things, the like Audiolingua or the Texas things where they purposefully like have start conversations about certain topics with native speakers? We found any good activities for those for either beginning or intermediates?
I think honestly you just have to create most of them. I don't think there's really anything out there for them. I think it'd be nice if we had a database because I think a lot of people use both of those websites. So if there was something that we all could use instead of trying to reinvent the wheel every time we go to listen to one of them, we might want to add that maybe if we can to LangCamp and say, hey, or if we want to divide up even like say, hey, I'm going to work on this section, you this. I don't know if that's something you guys want to do, but I would definitely be interested in that.
I think I use a lot of UTexas, especially for my Spanish ones, and the kids like it. I pre-create some questions before I show the video, and they are very simple. And what I like about that site is that it has all the levels, like intermediate, advanced, so I can kind of play with that. I use it sometimes, always. I mean, I'm native speaker, and sometimes what I do is with my friends or myself, I just create my own videos or something.
Are you all talking about Audiolingua?
Audiolingua
I
and
did talk about
Red Bull.
I'm sorry.
Audiolingua and the University of Texas has a collection of videos. Because Audiolingua is audio, and then the LAITS department in the University of Texas has some videos that are organized around the standards.
Yeah, and they have also the text, so you can either play the text or just have the script is there, both things. I pre-create some questions before I show the video, and they're very simple. And what I like about that site is that it has all the levels, like intermediate, advanced, so I can kind of play
Bethany, mute.
with that. I use it sometimes, always. I mean, I'm a native speaker, and sometimes what I do is with my friends or myself, I just
X out of your YouTube.
I had to mute Bethany so we could hear because she's getting caught up. Because I forgot to invite her. I didn't see her on the list. All right, there we go. So Bethany will be back when she catches up. So you use those as well as yourself as authentic resources so that they get some listening.
Yes.
And do you have them do anything besides summarize, or what would be some good approaches?
When I do interrogatives, when I'm teaching them the question words, I have my lower level students, so Spanish 1. We have a native Spanish speakers class 1 and 2 at our school. We're primarily a Hispanic school too, so that helps. But what we do is my class will create questions for another class to do. And my class, they like to challenge the native speakers, so they try to come up with harder questions, and they want to look like they're really smart. So that's always really fun and interesting between classes, or I'll have one class challenge another class with questions. So, okay, first period, I want you to challenge second period.
Hold on, because I forgot to invite her. I didn't see her on the list. All right, there we go. Bethany. All right. So headphones are great for the hangout situation, particularly if you get caught up. And I will unmute you, Bethany, when you are caught up. So would you say that your native speakers in class are your authentic resources?
Me?
Ash. Yeah, Ash.
Well, what happens is I'm saying like I use the videos and the audio files, and then I actually have my lower level students come up with questions for the native speakers, but they're more difficult. Like I want them to, we'll listen to it like 7 times to where my lower level kids can create difficult questions. And really my thing is just, can you create questions? Because I feel like question creation is one of the challenges with my Spanish 1 class.
Mm-hmm. So like treating the resource as a partner rather than audience, maybe.
Correct.
Shane's got the answers. So if you're in the video chat, you exit the YouTube video, and then just join the chat. So it looks like we're caught up. Okay. So Bethany's here now. She has recently joined us. Did you say you had some ideas, Bethany, about what to do with like Audiolinguas and like the other resources that were set up as listening practice kind of things from native speakers? Maybe not. I think she might still be catching up. Okay. So Ash proposed that we have like on the community that we start like, hey, here's Audiolingua stuff. What can we do with this? Just maybe like a little brainstorming post.
Mm-hmm. That would be fantastic. And then maybe we can tag the resources with themes or levels.
I know that the University of Texas ones are already leveled and like labeled according to their topic.
Yes.
And the Audiolinguas are labeled according to topic. Is it labeled according to level as well?
I think some of them are,
Okay.
if I remember.
So maybe this is more of a job for the LangCamp Wiki, where we like say, hey, here's a cool one, like let me embed it, and then here's what I did with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or here's what I want to do with it if I haven't done it. So we can make an Audiolingua page and a University of Texas page.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, so can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yay! I could hear everybody at like different speeds a few minutes ago, and I was trying to click stuff, couldn't get in, couldn't get out. Okay, anyway. So one of the reasons I was like, let me in, Laura, is at AP training recently. I came across some new resources that I hadn't heard of before. And one is Radio Naciones Unidas, and it's like the UN radio, and they have a little bit of everything, including stuff for like, like kind of like your lower intermediate and then on up. And so, of course, with it being AP, they were looking for higher up stuff, but there was definitely some stuff for the lower levels. And then also, El Grupo del Banco Mundial also has a whole bunch of really good listening stuff. From looking at it from the AP lens a little bit, as you're looking like from top down into what like lower levels might need to touch on a little bit here and there in order to help support the upper levels. There's good stuff even for like a novice level class, but it's still touching on some of those themes that come back for AP. And I'll try and put the link over there. The other thing is that it's a paid site, but there's a site called thisislanguage.com that has got authentic young adults speaking about a variety of topics, everything from what do you do on your vacation to Harry Potter. And they have already made listening activities to go with all of those, and they range in difficulty level and that kind of stuff. Our school is piloting it next year, and I'm really excited about it because we did a mini pilot with it. And the thing I liked best was that the activities were just already done. I didn't have to find the source and then also think up the stuff. They'd already done it for me, and so that was it. For the question, how much moolah?
Yeah, how much is it?
I honestly am not 100% sure because we're getting a district license, not a school license.
Okay.
That makes sense. And our district has 26 high schools in it, so yeah, so I'm not sure. But they, I'm sure that they'd be happy to tell you, and I can hook you up with the person that we've been working with it too. So anyway, so there you go. Kathy's got it for thisislanguage.com, and then Shane, there'd be all the, I don't know about all the Harry Potter you could possibly want, but there's Harry Potter in there. And I'll see if I can pop up those links there.
So Bethany, because this chat is going to go away when the call is over, so if you could make a post on our community with the links, that would be ideal. And then we could poke around those and see what to do.
Right, that'd be easier than me trying to click through screens too. So.
Yeah. So, because you have like what 4 or 5 things, you can make each their own post in the authentic resources discussion, or make it just one. And I'm seeing a lot of other good suggestions on the side, and some people made some suggestions in the Q&A that I want to touch on if I can get my thing to pop back up. Something about El Museo del Prado. There's some things that people can use there.
I want to, but I can't, honey, because you guys are around.
Okay, so Museo del Prado, Christina posted that, and Christina, if you would post that to the community. Ryan said Radio Ambulante, a free podcast with transcripts. Again, if you guys could post to the community, that would be like a lot longer term thing that we could use. And then France 24 is good for French, and it even has French, English, and Arabic. Actus, I'm not sure what Actus is, Melanie. And then I think that's. Oh, Christina has another extensive list. Again, for long-term sharing, the community or the wiki are the best places. I think the wiki's more for developing things further, and then the community just to get some quick feedback. Or do you guys want to put these all on a wiki page so they're easier to get to and they don't get lost in the feed?
Have you got the address to the wiki there, Laura? I mean, I might have missed it somewhere.
Oh, no, it's just langcamp.pbworks.com.
Oh, okay, the one.
Yeah.
Okay, it'll be here somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a link on our Google community, which I know you've joined. It's like one of the sticky links up at the top. So you can find that. So, all right, so we got 10, 20 minutes left. Shall we talk about how to use it? I see that Sarah has posted that they use a form based on Paul Sandrock's Keys book for text like news articles, asking for main idea, supporting details, inferences, etc. So, does anyone have any general ideas on what you can do for, for any kind of piece for interpreting? It sounds like, because when we're talking authentic resources, we're talking mostly about interpreting, right? Except for the treating them as a conversation thing, like Ash suggested earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So, any guidelines, any general task kind of things that you would do? So we could separate reading and listening.
There's the I don't know. It's been kicking around for a while. There's an actual interpretive template that works for either for reading or listening and stuff. And I guess I find myself using that a lot for the lower levels because it's starts with things like what's the main idea, what are some key supporting details, that kind of thing. But I don't know, the variety is also good too. So, but that's the one I fall back on when I need something and can't think of anything else.
I think too, main idea, key details ties in with a lot of, in Florida at least, our language arts standards, and there's a huge push, I know, in every district around the nation for literacy. So if we show things like that, it's also reinforcing other classes. So I think that really that main idea and key details are wonderful beginning points. So we're kind of working with reading, and especially that's something we need our kids to graduate is with that skill to be able to interpret these things.
And I really like.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Kim.
Oh, no, you go.
I was just gonna say what I always say, which is Apple rubrics. That like you start with the words, and then you go to the phrases, and then you go to the sentences, and you like move up the levels, and it depends on what they're ready to do, what they're ready to show you, and that's so like I have them pick what they think they can do, and then try and do that, and then like sometimes along the way I'll have them pick out keywords that they know, and like say, tell me anything else that you understood, just to like get them doing the listening skills. But like for the most part, it just kind of graduates up. And I have a question here in a little bit, but I want to hear what Ken has to say.
Okay, I was just going to say this whole topic of authentic resources, which is really important. I was wondering, does anyone use a central or core text and then build your authentic resources around those? Because I'm just thinking a lot of the schools here in Sydney, or probably the whole country, you know, particular languages would go to a particular textbook, and you'd hope that those textbooks would have authentic resources in there, and then all the teachers do what everyone's doing here and bringing in a whole lot of supplementary resources to you know, their courses and their teaching and so on. Is that what you guys do? Do you start off with a core text that you would use, and maybe, you know, start book 1 in year 7 of high school, and then, you know, go up to book 2 and 3, or do you start off with, you develop your own resources and gather from there?
We sort of have a textbook as our curriculum, but I find that the textbook that we adopted as a district doesn't really have a lot of very wonderful, authentic resources. Actually, it's all manufactured by the textbook, and sometimes they put like ads and things in the book, so mostly everything is supplementary. And it's not even very consistent with all of the levels. Like the upper levels are using a different textbook company. So you kind of use it as a guideline and then create your own, look for your own and add to it, supplement that way.
I didn't see that posted, sorry. Thanks for that. Public school language.
Yeah, hashtag public school language.
Yeah. Well, okay. I've got hashtag Department of One, so I kind of do what I want until they catch me. So far, so good. Like I pick themes and like project-based deriving question kind of things, and then pick stuff to go with that, and organize it that way.
I don't usually start, I know this is kind of weird, but I don't usually start with I'm not a big person with text because I feel like they have so much of that in a lot of their other classes, and I like to be like super fun and try to use as much technology as possible. Plus they look at me like I have to do that because I'm younger. So I usually start with like, if I can find like a show or something, like a clip that I can build off of, a theme, that works really well. I know last time when we did the school, we did a few episodes even in Spanish 1 with El Internado, which is a very popular series with Spanish teachers right now. And the kids just love watching it. They're like, oh, are we going to watch it? Even if we watch it for 5 minutes, and they spend a lot of that time rewatching it and understanding. I think that helped me. I could take from the video, the audio, into text instead of the other way around.
That totally reminds me. I took a great workshop on using shorts in the class, and I have a list somewhere that I can post on where you can find a lot of really great shorts in Spanish, and they're not in other languages, but I know that those resources exist. So.
That's so funny because I actually, when I was in graduate school for Spanish, that's what like I presented on was short films in Spanish and how powerful they can be, especially dealing with emotions for Spanish, even in lower levels. Like, okay, tell me what you felt here. You know, very simple reaction, but more complicated message in the video.
Totally. Some of them don't even have a lot of conversation in it, so that's perfect.
If you guys would, please post those to the Google community. And if you go to langcamp.pbworks.com, then I can make sure that everybody has access to the page, and we could have, I think we have an Internado page from last year, right, Bethany?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. And we've done a lot with Internado even since then. So between, on my blog, on Kara Jacobs' blog, Mike Pito, and a couple others, there's all the stuff that we've done kind of since then. But we've got season 1 is in pretty decent shape, and we're starting on season 2 for a bunch of stuff.
Is that on the wiki, or is it on the respective blogs?
So what would be on the wiki would be where we had gotten to through about this point last year, and then I think on the blogs is everything kind of since then. So we could probably pop in and put some links on there, but it'd be a lot to move over to the wiki. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think links would be ideal there, and then everything could be gathered. So, yeah, what do you say, about 10 minutes more, and then we'll wrap up all the way. I want everybody to know their homework assignments. So, everybody who's got...
Aren't you guys on holidays?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why we're here at night talking about teaching things, because that's what we do for fun. For awesome. But, no, but, but the homework is, if you posted a link, post it to the Google community at least. That way we can access it later, because the chat's going to go away. And the Q&A, I don't know what happens with that. That's the first time I've ever used it. So it's off in the ether for all I know already. But yeah, so homework, if you posted something, please post it to the Google community. I would, let's see, I would really love to see what you guys have with Internato and the short films. And then we could also start working on the, there goes Ash. So we could also see the, start brainstorming about ways to approach Audiolingua, have an Audiolingua post, and the Texas videos, University of Texas videos.
Oh, I just thought of something else too, because I'm still kind of mining through the resources that they gave us at AP training, but there's a document that's a Word document, but it's got embedded links to a site. I guess it no longer exists, but the links still work for kind of 5 to 8 minute stories, kind of a little bit like Radio Ambulante, but on a multitude of topics for Spanish-speaking countries and Spanish-speaking topics. But I'm talking, there's got to be I don't know, it's like a 10, 12-page document that's just title, link, title, link, title, link. So it's not I don't know how I'm ever going to wade my way through that, but I'll throw it out there and y'all can, and then I'll just make it quick. But yeah, I'll throw that out there too. So.
I remember my question. I had a question a while back. So as far as listening resources, Lisa Shepard had a blog post a little while ago about how she feels listening is different from reading, and I've found that to be the case too. That listening is more challenging for my students than reading. Yeah. Do you guys have any tips for how to approach authentic listening resources, be they videos, podcasts, songs, whatever?
I like to use the Spanish subtitles if I can underneath.
Oh yeah.
Because if they can read and listen, then they do better.
Yep. And in fact, my student teacher, God bless her, found found all the extra episodes, which I saw somebody else had mentioned too. But she found all those on YouTube with Spanish subtitles laid in. Wow. And so I was like, yes. So we used that this last year, but just as what Kathy said, and oh, by the way, hi, Kathy. But hey! We'll see you soon.
I'm in Raleigh.
Oh, well, hey, come on up. Porch is nice. Anyway, but they had laid in those subtitles, and boy, that made a huge difference in, we used it for a level 2 class, and they understood and followed a whole lot more, and therefore soaked up a whole lot more too. So.
I like that, and I feel like that would be an excellent scaffolding step, but I feel like it would also not get them to be able to listen independent of the reading. Because I do a lot with lyrics, and I was like, all right, they're really getting this. And they got excellent at reading, but they're listening, So I think that is excellent for interpretation, but is there something that I could do to bridge the gap from the interpreting in general to the listening specifically?
I think I tried that extra at the end of my Spanish one at the end of this year, my first time doing it. I was very impressed because I thought it was like too fast for them. They got the whole thing. I think it's because it relates a lot to friends or it's just something they really like. And the vocabulary I noticed there, it was very friendly for students. So when I asked them questions about what it was going on and what happened there, because I stopped it and then make questions just to check for understanding, and the responses were pretty good. So I did not use any subtitle or something. Like I said, it's the first time I did. It was at the end of my Spanish 1 classes, and the students really respond well to the content and the understanding of episode 1, the one that I showed them at that time.
Are we talking about El Internado or?
Extra, I'm sorry, extra.
Oh, extra, okay.
There's a really handy app out there if all your students have got smartphones or tablets, which is the Fluent U app. I'm not sure if you've looked at it yet. They've got a website as well, and it's just about in every language. And you can actually, it's a really, I think the app for the smartphone is better than their website, and it's just really handy. There's short snippets, so it's probably, you can choose the level as well from beginner, intermediate to heritage and native speaker. But you know, if your kids they've all got phones, and if you're giving them assignments or work when you're not there or something, they could do like a flip lesson with the Fluent U. It might be worth having a look at. I think it's really good, and Spanish is there with all the other major languages as well.
So Fluent U is not just the interpretive resource; it's the task as well.
Yeah, they've got activities and that with it. They still need a bit of work, but if you're looking just for listening or reading activities, then it might be just a supplementary. I'll just tag it on to what you're using already, and maybe you need to evaluate it as well. I think it's a handy task. Yeah.
Homework choices, right, Bethany?
Sorry?
Homework choices.
Homework
Yeah. We're all about some of them. So here's the choice I usually make. I don't give them any, but that's a different topic.
We just presented on this. Come on.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, when I give them homework, I give them choices, but yeah. So it goes.
Okay. So it's about that time. Any final takeaways, thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, curse words?
Hey. This is a family show. Come on. So one other thing that comes to mind too, and that is, again, kind of like in that intermediate to maybe the intermediate levels, is using like the BBC Mundo. Like they do a 60-second newscast of like 4 or 5 stories. They usually put kind of like an abstracted version, like kind of a shortened version of the text on their website each day. But there's this video produced of the highlights of news just from all around the world, any topic, each weekday. And then from some tips I got from Actful, I started using those as the listening text, and then making activities that went with each one. And starting with activating some prior knowledge so they would recognize cognates, for example, like inundar or something like that. Like if they don't know that word, if they don't know inundate in English, then they don't recognize that inundar flood in Spanish, you know. Doing some kind of reactivating some vocab and that kind of stuff that we've used before, and then going into main ideas, a little bit of matching of like who did what to whom kind of thing, and then doing a little bit of question and answer, that kind of stuff. I can throw a few of those up there to get an idea of the activities. I don't know if I'll still be able to find, I don't know if the videos are still available because, as I said, they make one. And as Mr. Wong kindly pointed out, we are on vacation, so it's been a while since I've taught any of them too. I mean, it's probably been a couple months since a new one came out. So, but if that's something that you would like to see, we can definitely make that happen. So,
por favor. Okay.
And your wish is my command, Laura. So.
Other final thoughts, takeaways, stuff that you realize want to try out from what we discovered tonight?
I'm going to look at I need to look more at authentic listening sites, because I really didn't do too much other than music and just occasional things that I would find. And I really want to incorporate more of that.
I've got one more thing came to mind, but I want to let other people go before our time runs out. So then, when we did the Apple exam, which was end of May, I was really surprised at how well the kids scored on the reading and listening parts. Like, they rocked it. They were amazing. And went way above and beyond what I would have rated their skills to be. And then they were significantly below what I would have rated their skills to have been on writing. And then the speaking section we just had technical issues on our end, so I'm not even really sweating that. But I was fascinated by how, I guess in one respect, how easy it was to get like an intermediate mid or something like that for them. But I think part of it was that they were accustomed to listening to native speakers speaking too. So anyway, just kind of a food for thought kind of thing. So.
Well, I'm really looking forward to putting together some stuff on the listening resources on the wiki, and I see that some people have generously already posted some of the links on the community for us to peruse at our leisure. So, any final thoughts before we go? We do have the full calendar up for July. It does not have the topics, so be sure that you are making suggestions and voting. Looks like next Monday is going to be project-based learning. Tuesday, I'm thinking it's going to be interactive notebooks, but the rubrics and feedback is giving it a run for its money. And I've seen a lot of other good suggestions. So hopefully we'll have a month of wonderful learning, and I will see you guys later.
Great. Thanks for doing all this, Laura. It's been fantastic.
Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.